What's up, YouTube? Today I got to address something that's very serious as we get closer and closer to the NFL season. And this is something that's consistently happening every time I'm watching these shows or listening to these talking heads talk about the Dallas Cowboys. There's two things they talk about. They hating on Dak. Think a little bit in an extreme way. I believe Dak Prescott is a good quarterback who had a down year for his standards last season. He wasn't complete trash. He wasn't ass like Sean McCoy eloquently told us. But at times he was, especially at the wrong time. We all know that. But what I want to talk about here is Micah Parsons. And before I get into it, I'm letting you know, I'll make this clear, and I've said this many times. I am and have been a Micah Parsons fan. And I was probably before any of you Cowboys fans ever was because I am a Penn State fan. That's my college team. That's the college team that I follow. We ranked number 7 this year, by the way, so I'm expecting a good year for Penn State. I did want the Eagles to draft him, though I am not angry we took Devontae Smith at all. All right? But Micah Parsons is the most overrated football player in the National Football League today. Completely overrated. And I'm going to tell you why. People are not categorizing him properly. Okay? There's a difference between someone being the best athlete. Like, I get it, right? Because they see he can run a 4.3 almost. You know, he's outrunning Trayvon Diggs, which is a bad look for Diggs more than it is for good look for Parsons, but okay. You know, he was a middle linebacker who converted to DN. We found out he is a good DN, very good. Not a great DN, but very good DN. Very hard to stop DN for guys who don't know what they're doing. Okay? And when I say athlete, what do I mean? I'm talking about someone who combines strength and speed and agility and all of those things that are helpful in athletics. Micah Parsons might be the best athlete in the NFL. Might be. Okay? But there's a difference between best athlete and best player. All right. Now, when we talk about potential, because of his superior athleticism, he may one day be the best player. But right now, he is not the best defensive player in the league. And people who are saying that are overrating him. They are tripping. All right. At some point, the numbers have to bear out what we're saying. Now, Michael Parsons last season, well, we go 2 years ago, his rookie year, surprised everyone. Without a doubt, he was not known as a pass rusher. He came on, had 13 sacks. Very impressive numbers for a rookie. They're not the most a rookie's ever had. Javon Curse actually had 14. Okay? 14 and a half. Right? So there have been others who had better. But it was nonetheless a good season because he kind of probably was a little bit more part-time than Javon Curse. I get it. All right? But what you notice with him, in particular like last season, is that most of his sacks come in the beginning of the year. First 8 weeks, first 7, 8, 9 weeks, he's like unstoppable. He's this madman that no one seems to be able to stop. Last season, he had 8 sacks in 7 games, the first 7 games. And then what you notice, what happens with him, is the last 8 games, he gets 5 sacks. He tails off. All right. And this happened his first 2 seasons. He tails off in the end, and in the playoffs, he's not as impactful. And he's still considered better than someone like Hassan Reddick, for example. He is not a better pass rusher than Hassan Reddick. Now, one could argue because he may be a better athlete that you think he's an overall better defender. I'm not even sure about that. Because if you want to look at fumble causing and fumble recoveries and so on, Hassan Reddick hasn't beat in all of those categories. Perhaps, I don't even know if Micah has an interception, but whatever. But overall, you're talking about Micah Parsons getting 13 and a half sacks last season. Hassan Reddick got 16 sacks. 16. And Hassan was strong towards the end. Now, What I'm looking to see this season with Micah is maybe he figured out how to adjust. I heard he put on 10 pounds of muscle. Maybe that will help his endurance. But right now, he's not the best player because he hasn't shown for 17 seasons to be the best pass rusher or to be the best defensive player. And anyone who's fair will acknowledge this. I won't argue with any of you about him being the best athlete, possibly. Best athlete does not equal best player. Sometimes it does, but in this case, it does not. People mention him with Lawrence Taylor. And I get it. When you look at him, he looks like he's just on a different level genetically, athletically. I get it. I see what we're talking about. I saw it at Penn State. You know, when I was expecting him to be more of a Ray Lewisy type of player. I saw it then. But until he shows or develops the endurance, now I can understand projecting that he will ultimately end up, on LT's level, which I doubt because Lawrence Taylor, bro. If you watch football in the 80s, which I did, there was nothing like Lawrence Taylor. But to automatically mention Micah Parsons with Lawrence Taylor while jumping right over guys that right now that are better than him, like Nick Bosa. Like you're crazy if you don't think Nick Bosa is better than him right now. To jump over the great Derrick Thomas. To jump over Von Miller. Guys who have had 20 sacks in a season, 18 sacks in a season. Things that Micah has yet to do. Is just like nonsense that people seem to do. I mean, I don't get it. Guys in the past are just forgotten about. It's absurd. And that's what I got to say on that. Micah Parsons right now is the most overrated player in the league right now. They saying he's a top 10 player. How? Where? Why? Because his plays are flashy. Because he plays for the Cowboys. And we need to get over that stuff about the Cowboys players. It's nonsense. All right. Like right now, we got Nolan Smith. Who was a linebacker? We playing that defensive end. Who runs a 4-4, sub 4-4. We're gonna see. We got one. Peace.